There is a strange thing happening inside this fanbase right now, and it deserves to be said out loud because a lot of you are living it every single day without realizing what it actually means. Detroit is nervous. Detroit is anxious. Heading into this preseason finale, this fanbase is scanning the depth chart for problems, bracing for bad news before it even shows up on a scoreboard. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud yet. For the first time in a long, long time, there might not be much to actually worry about. This roster is deep. This roster is talented. And today, we're going through it spot by spot to show you exactly why the Lions might be walking into 2026 with as few real weaknesses as any roster in franchise history. Before we get into it, a quick word. This channel, Detroit Scope, just crossed 350 subscribers, and honestly, that means more than you probably realize. Thank you. Genuinely. Now we've got our sight set on 500, and we can't get there without you. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, take 2 seconds and do it right now. It fuels everything happening on this channel. Alright, let's talk roster. Let's zoom out first, because the bigger picture explains a lot of the anxiety fans are feeling right now. For decades, training camp in Detroit meant genuine uncertainty, real, legitimate battles for starting jobs at nearly every position, not because competition was healthy, but because the roster simply wasn't deep enough to be settled. Rookies started because there was nobody else to turn to, not because they'd earned it. That is not where this team is anymore. Somewhere around 2022, this franchise crossed over into legitimate, sustained relevance, and it has stayed there ever since. Credit where credit is due. That's on General Manager Brad Holmes. He has built a roster so complete that the biggest storylines in camp right now are arguments over who wins the 51st, 52nd, and 53rd roster spots. That is an incredible problem to have, and this fan base, understandably, is still adjusting to what that actually feels like. So let's go unit by unit and be honest about where the real strength is, and where the real questions still remain. Start at quarterback, because this is where a lot of unnecessary noise gets generated every single week. Jared Goff has been one of the best quarterbacks in this entire league for 3 straight years running. The numbers back it up. The tape backs it up. And frankly, the debate about whether he's a legitimate top-tier starter should have ended a long time ago. Is there a bigger question attached to his name about winning it all? Sure, that's fair. That's the standard of the position. But as a pure evaluation of whether the Lions have a quarterback problem, the answer is clearly no. Running back might be the strongest, most decorated position on this entire roster. Juh-MEER Gibbs is the highest-paid running back in football, and he has earned every single penny of it. That's not projection. That's production translating directly into a market-setting contract that reshaped the entire running back landscape across the league. At receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown continues building a Hall of Fame caliber resume if he simply stays healthy and stays on his current trajectory. Jameson Williams is coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and by all accounts, he continues getting better and more refined in his route running and overall game. Then there's Isaac T.E. the rookie who has generated some of the most polarizing debate of this entire offseason. Yes, there was real pushback when Brad Holmes traded up to get him, giving up significant draft capital to leapfrog other teams, including a Los Angeles team reportedly willing to offer a second-round pick for that same slot. That criticism of the trade cost is fair, and it's worth acknowledging honestly. But here's a separate question, and it's an important one to keep distinct. Has T.E. actually performed? 6 touchdowns as a rookie third receiver is a genuinely strong start, full stop. You can hold 2 thoughts at once here. The price might have been steep, and the player is showing real signs of being worth developing patiently. 2 years is typically the fair runway to evaluate any rookie before rendering a final verdict. And right now, T.E. is trending in the right direction. The offensive line is where things get a little murkier, and it's fair to call this a genuine question area, even while acknowledging the pieces are talented. Sam Laporta remains locked in as one of the best tight ends in this league when healthy. First-round investment Blake Miller is holding down the right tackle spot, opposite a left tackle position that's been significantly upgraded. Tate Ratledge, a second-round investment, continues developing and has even been working representatives at center this camp to boost the roster's flexibility. Cade Mays was a notable free agent investment, but is currently dealing with an injury expected to keep him out until around Week 7, a real subtraction to account for early in the season. Christian Mahogany rounds out a talented but still developing interior group. Every team in this league has questions somewhere along their offensive line, and this unit, while not without real question marks, has enough talent and enough depth to withstand some early season absences. Now let's move to the defense, because this is where the most exciting transformation of this entire roster is taking place. Aiden Hutchinson remains one of the best defenders in the entire NFL, full stop, No real argument to be had there. Alim McNeil is working back from injury, but this team has seen him perform at a top 10 level before, and there's real optimism he gets back to that form. Behind him, the edge rotation of Derek Moore, DJ One-Num, and Ahmed Hassanein represents genuine, exciting depth, even if it's fair to call this a real question area in terms of exactly how the snaps shake out. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Healthy competition at a premium position is exactly what you want heading into a season. Tylik Williams, after a modest rookie campaign that saw him take some unfair criticism, appears to be trending upward heading into year 2, with real optimism his late-season improvement carries forward. At linebacker, Jack Campbell remains one of the best in the entire league at his position, full stop. Derek Barnes is a legitimately solid contributor. And this off-season, this front office did something a lot of fans were calling for all last year. They went out and genuinely upgraded the room, adding veteran Devin White alongside this young core. There's honest debate to be had about Devin White compared to incumbent Malcolm Rodriguez, and reasonable fans can land on different sides of that debate. But nobody can argue this room didn't get stronger this offseason. Now, the secondary, and this is where the real uncertainty of this roster lives, and it's worth being straightforward about that rather than pretending otherwise. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, when both are healthy and on the field together, form one of the best safety duos in this entire league. That much is not in question. What is in question, at least for the start of the season, is availability. Branch is working back from a serious injury, and there's real uncertainty about exactly when he and Joseph will both be full participants again. That is a legitimate concern, and this fan base is right to have some anxiety there. At cornerback, DJ Reed is a strong physical presence at the top of that room, and there's genuine hope building around rookie Keith Abney as he continues competing for real snaps. Cornerback remains a question mark as a group, but there are enough intriguing pieces to believe this unit can hold up its end while the safety situation sorts itself out. And don't sleep on special teams either. With Jake Bates handling kicking duties and Jack Fox handling punting, this unit quietly gives Detroit an edge that a lot of opposing rosters simply cannot match. In a league where close games get decided by inches and hidden yardage, having elite special teams play is a real, tangible advantage. Let's pause here for a second, because this deserves real emphasis. Think about how differently this conversation would have sounded 5, 6, 7 years ago. There is no version of this roundtable happening in this fan base a decade ago. Back then, camp battles weren't luxury problems about who wins spot 53. They were desperate, uncertain fights just to find enough competent bodies to field a roster. This team has moved so far past that reality that some of the anxiety fans are feeling right now is almost a symptom of success. When your floor gets raised this high, every remaining question, even a minor one, starts to feel amplified because there's simply less noise to hide behind anymore. And this matters heading into the season for another reason too. National media outlets, not just the local voices who cover this team every single day, have taken notice of what's been built here. Outside evaluators, people who watch all 32 teams and carry no built-in bias toward Detroit, are pointing to this roster as one of the more talented, well-constructed groups in the entire league. That recognition didn't happen by accident. It happened because this front office has consistently drafted well, developed players patiently, and made smart, sustainable investments in free agency, rather than chasing short-term splash moves that leave a roster thin 2 years later. So here's the honest, complete picture as Detroit heads toward the regular season. The offensive skill positions are as strong as almost any group in this league. The offensive line has real talent, with a couple of legitimate injury-related question marks to monitor, specifically around Cade Mays' early season absence. The defensive front seven is deeper and more talented than this fan base has seen in a very long time, even with some healthy internal competition still being sorted out at the edge position. And the secondary, while it carries the most real uncertainty of any unit on this roster given the safety injury situation, still has enough talented pieces to believe it can hold its own while Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch work their way back to full health. Put it all together, and there is a very fair case to be made that this roster, complete as it currently stands, has as few true weak links as any roster in franchise history. That doesn't guarantee wins. It doesn't guarantee health. But it does mean that when this team finally takes the field in Week 1, the excuses that used to be so readily available, thin depth, unproven starters, glaring positional voids, are largely gone. What remains now is simply the job of staying healthy enough and executing well enough to let this talent show up on Sundays. So we want to hear from you on this one. Drop a comment below and tell us honestly, which position group are you most confident in heading into the season? And which one still has you a little nervous? Is it the safety situation with Branch and Joseph? Is it the edge rotation still sorting itself out? Or are you fully bought in across the board? We read every single comment, and this conversation genuinely shapes what we cover next on this channel. And before you go, please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and help us get from 350 all the way to 500. This channel exists because of Lions fans like you who want the full, honest picture instead of just cheerleading. Go Lions!